frustrated, can't get to Ellen Road, go to the games like a lot of the supporters, especially, back in the Premier League and the club doing so well.
Welcome to the Leeds United Show on LUFC. Today we'll be reviewing the recent Premier League results for the first team with a Leeds United legend.
There's no reason why Patrick shouldn't be in among the players that get mentioned for an England call-up.
Finding out all about the vaccination centre that opened up this week at Ellen Road.
I think it just sends a massive message out to the rest of the country about what Leeds is about.
And getting the fans' view on the weekend's clash with Arsenal.
That spinning back heel that left Gary Cahill for dead was sensational.
Ben Parker joins us as always off the back of what was a great result against Crystal Palace, wasn't it, Ben?
It was a real kind of performance that made me feel we're in the Premier League, an established Premier League team.
Only just now?
Only just now, just in terms of hardly any chances we gave away, how comfortable we were in the game. And any given moment in that match, I just felt we could have gone 4th, 5th gear, created chances, scored plenty of goals, and players are playing really well. Coming away from the game, people go to me about different players, how well he played, and just a collective effort. Obviously, you've got your standout players, Rafinha, yet again, crazy bit of skill on Cahill near the byline, loving to see that. But players are stepping up in the right positions, right time, and we're proving a real difficult outfit to play against at the moment.
Now let's welcome a true Leeds United legend to the show, Eddie Gray. Hello, Eddie.
Good morning, how are you? Or afternoon, whatever it is.
Afternoon, evening, it all merges into one at the minute, doesn't it, Eddie?
Yeah.
How are you doing? How are you keeping, Ed?
We're okay, yeah. Everything's good, just a bit frustrated, can't get to Ellen Road, go to the games like a lot of the supporters, especially, back in the Premier League and the club doing so well.
I know, we wish you were here. We wish everyone was here. It's just not the same, is it? But positive news. Let's talk about that game against Crystal Palace. What did you make of it, Eddie?
I thought they played tremendously well. I mean, getting into the game, as we know, we lost down in London, but completely different game last night. How we approached the game, the manner and the way we played, the chances we created. I think they're playing terrific. I mean, a lot of credit for how we play when you analyse games has got to go to the coach, the manager, Marcelo Bielsa, because when you look at games now in general, you see teams playing out for the back and we play out from the back, but we do it with a purpose and pace that catches teams out. The movement for the players, whether they're playing full-back, midfield, they seem to have a freedom to join in whenever they think it's necessary. And that's why we get to teams quick. And I think that's why teams find it so difficult to play against us, because the movement, the team are so fluid, they seem to know what each other's doing. And that's all credit to, I think, to what must go on. And I've not watched them training. I don't know if Ben's watched them, but they must work hard in the training ground. Because, when you're playing out for the back, normally it's quite easy for teams to contain you and keep you in there. But the way we play in the movement, we catch teams out so quickly. And I think that's why, in a way, we're a little bit better suited to playing away from home. Although last night at home was a great performance. But when you look at our away performances, you take Leicester and you take a few of the games we've played away from home. Teams come at us, but we can get at them quickly and expose them. And how they play, and I think it's just terrific to watch. I mean, obviously, the team are getting a lot of plaudits for all sorts of sources. Top people in the game, all the television programmes are all raving about how Leeds United play, and rightly so, because it is entertaining to watch. Sure, when you look at the goal difference, we're going to get caught out at times the way we play the game. Individuals are going to make mistakes. But I think it's refreshing to watch them play.
Eddie, in terms of the results, I think early probably part of the season was a bit up and down, but that's just down to being new to the Premier League. But after last night, that's 3 wins out of the last 4. Have you seen a difference in terms of just settling in more into the rhythm of the Premier League?
I think more and more the players are getting confident. I mean, I think they've always been confident, Ben. in the way they play the game. I think they believe in the way they play the game. But I think they're getting more confident as individuals. I think they realise now, regardless of who they're playing in the Premier League, it can be a match for them. I mean, you look at the players. I mean, you take Patrick Bamford. I mean, I look at Patrick and, 100 goals. It's a great achievement. But his game's improved no end, in recent months. His contribution to the side, he's always worked hard. But his contribution to the side now, the runs he's making in behind defenders, I think everybody's just stepped up. And they're playing probably a lot higher level than they did at the start of the season, for the point of view exposing teams. Their ability as individuals seems to have improved, and they're all playing for each other. So when you ask the question, Ben, for the start of the season, you can see a big difference. You can see the belief is growing every week. And when you actually look at the league table, I mean, it's onwards and upwards, I think. I mean, people are talking about the top half. Well, we're in the top half now. Obviously, since the start of the season, he's brought a few players in, Rodrigo and Rafinha, who's been tremendous. But when I looked at Rafinha at the start, when he first came in, he's a completely different player now. His work ethic is tremendous. There was a situation in the second half, Ben, we were attacking him and it broke down. And he was the first player to get a challenge in. And it was 20 yards inside of our half. He made up about 30, 40 yards to get back into a defensive area. Now, I don't think you'd have seen that for Rafinha at the start. No disrespect to him, but I think he's bought into how the manager wants to play. And I think he realises it's making him a better all-round player. Obviously, he's got tremendous talent. You need the talent to play the way he plays. But he's been a big plus.
You're absolutely right, Eddie. As a collective, they've really, really stepped up, and there's a few individuals that you've mentioned there that have exceeded expectations, Patrick Bamford being one of those, and there's now talk about an England call-up. Do you think that he deserves an England call-up, Eddie?
If you're a striker at this stage of the season and you've scored a dozen goals, you've got to be in the running. I mean, he's up there with the top marksman in the league. The team are playing well. He's playing well. He's popping in the goals. So, like any other player at that level, when you're playing the Premier League and you're doing very well, you'd expect it to be mentioned in the same breath as a lot of the players that are doing well in the Premier League. So I don't think, there's no reason why Patrick shouldn't be in among the players that get mentioned for an England call-up. And as we know, I see him on the television. Gareth's usually most of the Leeds United games, Gareth Southgate, and he'll see, I think he'll have thought there's a vast improvement in Patrick Bamford. And I think everybody's got to agree with that. There is a vast improvement, because when you get back to the end of last season, there was doubts, and I think that's fair to say, whether he could produce at Premier League level. And he's done it, and he scored goals. And if you're a striker and you're scoring goals and your team are doing well, then rightly so, you should be mentioned for call-ups to international teams.
Well, let me tell you, Eddie, Emma's taking full credit due to being friends now on the Leeds United podcast. So it's all down to Emma. Thank you.
Listen, I'm not one to brag, Eddie, but I'll take any plaudits.
but mentioning England and a current player involved in the England setup at the moment is our very own Calvin Phillips, who made his 200th appearance against Crystal Palace. And Eddie, you've seen his journey from very beginning all the way up till now. How much of an improvement has that person made, not only on the pitch, but just all around what the club means to him as well?
Well, the club means a lot to Calvin. Obviously, he was there as a young player. I think like a lot of the players, Ben, he's improved. Calvin's always had talent, but his all-round games is improved. And, playing in that central midfield area, whether he's sitting in between the two central defenders or whether he's pushing a little bit further forward, depending on how the game is going. His knowledge of how to play the game has improved. And for a midfield player, that's a lot, And what it does for the side, I think, when Calvin's playing, the full-backs, they can go forward, and they do. Whoever's playing at full-back, whether it be Ali Oscar, Stuart Dallas, and especially Luke Ayling, they know they can go forward and getting advance of front people. And if it breaks down, Calvin's always going to be there. I mean, we seen him last night. You take the game, against Crystal Palace. Ayew was playing a little bit deeper, but every time he got on the ball, the first man to him was Calvin Phillips, breaking things up for us in their half, and no letting them get at us and no letting the centre forward turn and run at people. And that's just his knowledge of how to play the game now. That comes with experience, Ben. He's been playing in there for a long time. And as you know, and everybody at the club knows, that Marcelo Bielsa has got a lot of faith in Calvin, wherever he plays. And that's a big boost for the player. But not just Calvin. It's not just a big boost for Calvin. It's a boost for all the players within the squad. They seem to know their jobs individually, collectively as a team. And it's great to watch, Ben.
And Eddie, let's talk about the Premier League as a whole, because I think it's fair to say it's been a pretty crazy season. Why do you think some of the results have been so crazy, Eddie?
Well, you could look at situations and think, well, just let's take Liverpool, for instance, champions last year. When you go to Anfield and there's 50,000 at Anfield, it's a bit more difficult to play. If there's, than if there's nobody there, and it's the same at Ellen Road. I mean, when you actually look at our record at Ellen Road, the record at Ellen Road isn't great. When you actually look at it, it might have been better if there had been 37, 38,000 at every game. And I think you can say that for a lot of clubs. I think you get certain players that thrive on there being an atmosphere, and I mean a proper atmosphere, a proper football atmosphere, with the crowd having a go at the opposition and cheering their own side on. So I think that could have a lot to do with it. But for us at the present time, going away from home, I think it suits us. I think it suited our players. They can go out, they know they're not going to get abuse for the opposition fans, and it seems to suit us playing away from home, I think.
Well, out playing away from home, Eddie, next up is Arsenal on Sunday. And a team by their kind of standards that they've set over previous years, very disappointing. And we find ourselves above them going into the game. So surely it's a game with no fear we can go into?
I don't think that we get into any game, Ben, fearing the opposition, regardless of who it is. Whether it be Manchester United or Arsenal or whoever. I mean, I don't think Arsenal are the team they were. I mean, even looking at individual players. But the funny thing is, when you look at our side, and you're being realistic about football, how many of the Arsenal players would get into the Manchester United or Manchester City teams just now? And how many of our players would get into Manchester United as individuals or the Man City side? So that goes to show you the benefit our players under the tuition of Marcelo Bielsa, they're receiving as a unit. Because if you actually look at individuals, and if I says to you, Ben, how many of our players would get in as individuals to the Man City side or the Man United team for that matter, you would have to scratch your head, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I do. I'd agree.
It just goes to show you the benefit, the belief that our players have in each other as a unit. That big sign outside Ellen Road, side before self every time, and it's working for us. And when we go to, Arsenal at the weekend, I don't think we'll go there with any fear. I think they'll go believing they can win the game, and they'll play the game as if they're going to win it. Regardless how the result ends up, we'll go there and we'll play our game and put them under pressure.
And it'll certainly be entertaining, I'm sure, Eddie.
It's always entertaining when we play.
It certainly is. And in your opinion, Eddie, what's the target for Leeds United this season?
Well, listen, before the season starts and like all teams come up for the championship, the first thing you look at is survival. But after we'd played in, I think, I'd says to Ben on occasions, I'd be looking at mid-table to top half. Now we're in the top half. You've got to keep looking forward. And, I think the great thing is that, that belief, whoever we play, we can get a result. And you don't know where that can take you. I mean, right now, you look at the league table, we look safe. And that's the most important thing for any side coming up for the championship, to make sure you survive. And I'm sure in the next few seasons, we'll bring in more quality. We've brought in quality at the start of this season. You've got Rodrigo and Rafinha and the players themselves, the players that have been at the football club, and there's a lot of them, as everybody knows, they were championship players for many years and played at that level, and have come into the Premier League and proved they're good enough to play in the Premier League. So when you look at the league table and you think, well, if you're in the top half, then you're looking at the top six. So I think the players, I don't think they'll actually think they're going to be challenging for a European spot, but I think they'll believe that they can go out and win every game they play. And if you do that, you're going to be challenging.
So basically, get us passports ready, Emma. We're going to Europe. But just a final point, Eddie. Away from football matters, this week the club opened up to one of the largest vaccination centres in the region, and yet again being at the heart of the community and being at the forefront of pushing through the vaccinations in and around, let's say, the Leeds community. So how great is that to see?
I think it's terrific. I mean, as we know, this pandemic's got to everybody, Ben, and the quicker everybody gets the jab. I mean, fortunately, Linda and I have had our jab. I'd have probably been down to Ellen Road looking for one, but I've had it. I think it's great for the community, and it's great that the hobby of that is the football club, because the football club's always been a great and a big part of the city. Everybody knows that. They go hand in hand together. And it's tremendous that people can get down to Ellen Road, and I think it encourages people to go when, Ellen Road is one of the centres to receive the vaccination. So I think it is great for the city, and hopefully once everybody receives a jab, they can get back and doing what they love most, and that's watching Leeds United play.
We cannot wait for that day, Eddie, and we can't wait for you to be back here. We miss you. But it is lovely to see you looking so well, and it's good to know you've been vaccinated. So continue to look after yourself, and thank you so much for joining us on the Leeds United Show, Eddie.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed it.
Great to hear that Eddie's had his vaccination, isn't it, Ben?
Superb. And what the club are doing as well at the moment over the pavilion, up to 9,000 vaccinations they can get through as well. It's unbelievable. At the heart of it, Olivia Smart, one of our own Leeds United ladies player, works in the NHS, and people across the whole club as well are helping out, volunteering. I know the stewards work on match days there, facilitating over there as well. And it's just getting the country, the community back on its feet again, and to be a big part of it, the club. It's really, really uplifting.
It is so special. And LUTV popped down to the pavilion earlier this week to find out more.
This is the first step to getting large numbers of people vaccinated through one location in the city, which is the step to letting us all get back to our normal lives. We got into collaboration with Leeds United sort of back end of December, and we took over this site of the pavilion here right at the start of January, and it was only 2 weeks' time that all of what you see around you now was put in place and built. So we've really achieved something special here. You see people working here, they're happy coming to work because they can feel that they're doing something that is potentially the solution to the thing that we've been through for the last 12 months. People are really optimistic about this. They do see that this is doing something that will get us out of the situation that we've been over the last 12 months.
Obviously it's not my normal job, but people are doing this out of their own hours and own goodwill, and it's a programme everyone wants to be involved in, so it was a no-brainer.
Can't stress enough how important it is for people to get vaccinated. There are letters that are going out nationally when each age group is opened up and invited for vaccination. And I'd say to people, as soon as you get your letter, give us a call, get yourselves down here, get yourself vaccinated. It takes literally 5 to 10 minutes from coming in the door to being out the other end.
It was fine, it was very straightforward, the car parking was easy, the queue was almost non-existent. Everybody was really friendly and helpful, and it was good to get it done. It's nice to be down here, and I was hoping I was going to be done on the pitch, but if not on the pitch, then here is very good.
For people that are hesitant, and people will be hesitant, obviously this is new, but I've had the vaccine. Staff have the vaccine daily, you know. It's safe. It's a safe thing to be having done, and if we want some normality back, I think this is the way forward, isn't it? It's a step in the right direction.
I can understand any hesitancy, but I would say go for it. I think the benefits to the individual and to society as a whole hugely outweigh any little concerns that people may have.
The club have been absolutely brilliant in supporting us, making their facilities available, helping us with the stewarding. You know, we don't have experience about managing the flows of people in and out of venues, but the club absolutely understand that. They've made facilities available for our staff over in the East Stand, which is brilliant. You know, we've got a rest area, places for people to go and have the dinner and so on. So the club have been absolutely amazing with us.
Leeds is a massive part of my life, but I think it's a massive part of the city, isn't it? We're lucky enough to only have one club in this city, and Leeds is at the forefront of the community and the people that are in it, and people outside of Leeds love Leeds United as a football club, and I think it just emulates who they are as a club, and opening their doors to the NHS is just a massive thing, isn't it? It's just a massive sense of family and a community, and they've done all they can to help us, and they are, and we've made this service happen.
I can't wait. I'm a season ticket holder, got my seat waiting for me in the North Stand there. Can't wait for me and my boys to come back here as soon as we can and see Leeds in the Premier League.
I'm a Leeds United fan, so vaccinating a centre that's outside the doors of Leeds United is massive, isn't it? And for me personally, it's an honour and a privilege to be involved in it, and as part of the Leeds United family. I think I am just a small part of Leeds teaching hospitals as well, and I think it just sends a massive message out to the rest of the country about what Leeds is about.
Chat about the under-23s, Ben, because they had a great 4-2 win against Middlesbrough at the weekend, didn't they?
They did, and the run of form they're in is just unbelievable to see. What made it more special for me on Sunday was not having the sprinkling of first-team players we usually get with the under-23s, so we went there with a young team and a young squad, and they're just showing how confident they are at the moment, the brand of football they're playing, and huge credit has to go to Mark Jackson. He took over during the pandemic, hardly any pre-season, new signings coming in, albeit quality signings like to Joe Gelhardt, who got an unbelievable goal against Middlesbrough. But for him to work how he has done, and players going to the first team, dropping back down, it is hard to coach at times, it's hard to get a settled team, but what he's done with a group of players has been nothing short of spectacular, so full credit to Jacko.
Right, let's wrap up this week's Leeds United show with a look ahead to the showdown at the Emirates. Our very own Jack Durkin has this week's fans panel.
Welcome back to another episode of the fans panel. In today's episode, we're going to be looking ahead at the away fixture coming up this weekend at the Emirates Stadium against Arsenal. We're joined by Marcus from the Instagram page Arsenal News Hub and Chris, who joins us from the Leeds United Bay Area. We'll start with the game last night against Palace, Chris. A very convincing performance for Leeds, 2-0. Probably should have been more, one of our best performances of the season. Who do you think stood out in the game, and what did you think of the overall performance from the team?
I thought Rafinha stood out. He was electric and dangerous, a constant threat, and he's remarkable because Bielsa's system doesn't necessarily lend itself to a player like that. It's a significant workload for a winger to do the high press. So he's the hardest working player in the hardest working team. So he was sensational, and that spinning back heel that left Gary Cahill for dead was sensational. So in terms of performance, just a really great performance, as you say. You know, very solid Bielsa-like, and relatively easy. You know, an early goal in the first half, early goal in the second half makes life much easier.
Definitely, yeah. Like you say, great performance. And yeah, that skill move from Rafinha, poor old Gary Cahill now. I don't think he's had that for a few years, has he? Marcus, Arsenal's form recently hasn't been the best with 2 losses and then a draw to Man United the week before that. Do you think you can pick up some form against Leeds this weekend and possibly get the 3 points?
Yeah, I'm hoping to be fair. Short little sort of runs have been our sort of main how we've done this season, in terms of we started well with wins in the start of the season against Fulham and West Ham, and then, you know, up until Christmas we were awful, just couldn't get results at all. And then from Boxing Day, really, that Chelsea win sort of sparked a bit of a run of form from there. And then the last 2 games, I'm not sure what's gone on, to be honest. I mean, a couple of harsh red cards, a couple of decisions against us, but I'm hoping we can pick up some form, because, you know, when we played you at Ellen Road, you were all over us as well. So
there was a red card in that game as well. Like
yeah, Pepe. I think it was Alioski, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm hoping we can pick up some form and try and get 3 points.
Definitely. Chris, you're joining us from across the pond in San Francisco. I know it's very early for you, as you've mentioned already, so thank you very much for joining us. What's the general feeling over there with fellow Leeds fans, and how do you think we've done this season so far overall?
Well, I think Leeds fans in the US are much like Leeds fans everywhere. They're excited about the results. They're excited about Bielsa's philosophy. And just generally the performances go above and beyond what we expected this year. Because, you know, being promoted from the Championship, you just hope to avoid relegation. And we've seemed to have more or less done that. And there's also for the US fans, the 49ers investment is really significant. It's an opportunity to grow the fan base here, specifically in the Bay Area, with events and a larger community, which is going to be great for everyone. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Has that happened a lot? Obviously with the 49ers investment, has that grown the fan base a lot over there? Are you meeting a lot of new fans or?
Absolutely. So we've basically doubled our membership in size in the Bay Area. We've now got about 70, 75 members, and looking to grow that. And obviously once the lockdown and the pandemic is over, we can start doing more face-to-face meetups, and potentially even at the Levi Stadium in San Francisco, which is a fantastic venue, and something that maybe Leeds can emulate with Elland Road redevelopment in the future.
Yeah, definitely. It's exciting times, definitely, especially with that, like you say, investment from the 49ers. Marcus, there's been a feeling, which you touched on earlier with the red cards, amongst Arsenal fans, that the referee's having a bit of an agenda against them at the moment, with a few decisions going here and there that are very opinionated from the Arsenal fans. How do you and the other Arsenal fans feel about the decisions that have been going on from the referees?
Yeah, as you say, over social media, over the past few weeks, I've seen images everywhere from past few seasons talking about, this should have been a red card and whatnot. But I wouldn't call it an agenda as such. I think it's just mistakes from the referees. You know, referees are human, but then that's why there's the monitor there. I feel like, they make a decision, then go to the monitor and look. I mean, how that David Luiz card against Wolves was a red, I've no idea.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. It's very, very harsh, I thought.
Yeah, it's not just us, which is the thing. I mean, there was that Souček one against who was at Fulham the other night, and also that Bednarek one against Man U. I think even Mike Dean looked at the monitor on that one. So I think, I don't know how to get around it, whether, refs get held accountable and, they come in for a press conference at the end of the game and explain their decision. But I wouldn't call it an agenda.
It's an interesting conversation, that, isn't it, with the whole idea of the referees coming in for a press conference after a game, because, like you say, managers do it, players do it. It almost makes sense for a referee to do it, and maybe not immediately after the game, maybe a couple of hours after that they then hold an interview and it gets posted somewhere or whatever. But yeah, it's an interesting way to look at it, definitely. There's only 1 point that separates the two teams currently in the league. So the game this weekend is probably bigger for both teams than you originally would think. Leeds can move into a much stronger top 10 position, and Arsenal would move back into the top 10 with a win. Chris, we'll go for you first. Who do you think the 3 points are more vital to when we're looking at the table in the season?
To be honest, I think Arsenal, actually, because they've got aspirations to be in the Europa League this year. They finished 8th, I think, last year. So, finishing in the bottom half of the table would be a bit of a disaster for them. Whereas Leeds, we've got 32 points. You'd say typically 35 to 38 would be enough to survive. So I think we're fantastically well placed. We can kick on and, maybe try a few new things. But this weekend, I would say Arsenal.
Marcus, what do you think? I'm sure you're going to agree on that.
Yeah, I agree with Chris. Definitely us. I mean, for you guys coming up from the Championship last year, as Chris said, I mean, you just want to stay up. You wouldn't dream of Europe. But for us, I mean, we've got Europe, the past 24 seasons now. So I can't really imagine a season without European football. So I think this is massive. And as I said earlier, I mean, hopefully it can kickstart another little run of form and push us up into those spots.
Definitely, yeah. Well, if I'm honest, probably Leeds are looking more likely for Europe at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
And the way that we're playing with Bielsa, definitely. But like you say, the thing is with you guys as well, Marcus, is that it's Arteta's still in that transitional phase. He's still trying to get used to his players. He's just signed Ødegaard, which for you guys is a good signing, seems to be. Hopefully, maybe you guys can keep him on loan next season as well.
Yeah,
get to do his thing, but I'm sure he'll come good as well.
No, I've heard reports that he's starting against you guys at the weekend, so
right, okay.
We'll see about that.
Interesting threat for you guys then, definitely.
Yeah.
Chris, can we get a score prediction from you, and how do you think the game is going to pan out?
Well, it depends if Calvin is injured, because I think he picked up a knock last night, and we'll have to see how he is for the weekend. Leeds don't have a great record in London. I think it's 3 years since we last won in London. So we'll see how it goes, but it is Valentine's Day, so I think a little bit of sexy work from Rafinha, a couple of goals, and we might win 2-0.
Yeah, get in. Yeah, what a great result that would be. Marcus, what do you think?
I mean, not many home sides have won this season. It's a bit of a weird league, but I'm going to go for a win. I feel like we've got Leno coming back from his suspension, Gabriel recovering from his COVID, and Partey looks like he'll be fine to start. So I'm going to be confident. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win.
Well, hopefully for mine and Chris's sake, you're wrong there, Marcus, but we'll see at the weekend. Guys, a fascinating game coming up on Sunday with both teams needing the 3 points. Thank you very much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll have a great game this weekend. Thank you very much, guys.
That's it for the Leeds United Show this week. We'll be back soon, and don't forget to tune into LUTV all this week for all the build-up to the trip to Arsenal this Sunday.